So, so as I'm going through the divisions here, we're going to start off going into the AFC South. Now, you look at the AFC South. Again, you got starting off with the Titans first. Going into this 2025, going into the 2025 the 2025 draft, they had to address again. They had to go back and address the quarterback situation. They had Will Levis at quarterback, but he was never the guy. The guy that the Will Levis is the guy that likes coffee and mayo. I like coffee, don't like mayo. But coffee, I agree with that, But when he said that, I'm like, he's a weird dude. But they absolutely needed somebody at quarterback. It didn't help that Mike Vrabel didn't really help him develop him that well. But again, he didn't really show that he was the guy really. Simple as that, really. They needed a wide receiver, they needed a edge, couple of things on defense like edge, cornerback, linebacker, running back, defensive line, safety, and obviously some protection for the new quarterback, which is Cam Ward. Cam Ward was drafted, and we all knew that Cam Ward was going to go first overall. I know people say, "Oh, Shedeur Sanders," which again, in my mock draft, I had him as one because I didn't. When I did my first mock draft early in the year, I had Shedeur at 1 early on because I didn't watch him. I didn't watch him in my first ever mock draft I did. So I was just, again, when I started watching all these quarterbacks and everybody in this, people in this draft class, especially quarterbacks, I'm like, yeah, Cam Ward, I even talked about it on my channel. So yeah, Cam Ward, they drafted Cam Ward from Miami. Again, no brainer kind of there. And then they traded their second round pick, 35th overall to the Seahawks, and then they drafted in the second round they drafted Olufemi, Olufemi, offensive linebacker from UCLA. Obviously, that they was in the that was the Seahawks position, but obviously Seahawks were in the and then they traded that to the Seahawks. Then traded a third round pick to the Chiefs. Then they drafted Kevin Winston Jr., safety from Penn State. So again, when I'm liking it, they're addressing the outside linebacker position, they're addressing that safety position as well, quarterback as well with Cam Ward. And then you got Jameer Dyke, wide receiver for Florida, again giving a weapon to Cam Ward, which again it was a must. Again, another weapon, Gunnar Helm, tight end from Texas. And then they go later on in the round. They draft Alec Avenich. I'm probably saying his name wrong. Wide receiver from Stanford. And then again, you're addressing your offensive line. You're addressing the trenches on that offensive side of the ball with Jackson Slater, guard from Sacramento State. And then later rounds, Marcus Harris, cornerback from California, Caleb Mullins, running back from Michigan. Again, he's probably going to be like wide receiver 3 probably. And then they trade a couple of picks to New England. They traded a 7th round pick to New England and a 7th round pick to Dallas. Overall, the aim of the game was to get a quarterback and and then build around getting the young quarterback for the Titans, and I think they really did address that here. They got what they wanted in the right quarterback. They addressed especially some weapons for Cam Ward. They addressed the defense side of the ball quite a bit in this draft, and they drafted somebody on the offensive line, which is good. They got themselves a guard on that offensive line to protect Cam Ward. Then we go to football. Let's go to the fucking Jacksonville Jaguars. So the Jags, they traded up. They were originally, if I remember, they was 5th, and in the original position it was 5th. But they, so yeah, they was 5th first overall, 5th round pick. But again, going in, they needed a defensive line, they needed a running back, they needed a wide receiver, cornerback, tight end, offensive tackle, edge, and safety. So first thing they do, they trade up because they was in the fifth overall, first round pick, 5th overall. They trade up a couple places to second, where the skid marks traded down a bit, and the Jacksonville get Travis Hunter. He is a wide receiver, but he can play his corners. It depends. Again, I don't know where Liam Cohen's going to play him. Is he going to play him at wide receiver? Is he going to play him at cornerback? I don't know. In Jacksonville, where he's going to play. If he's a wide receiver, then great. But if he's a cornerback as well, you've got to figure it out yourself. But Travis Hunter gets drafted 2nd overall from Colorado. Then, like I said, the Browns get another. The Jags, Jacksonville trade another. They trade a 2nd round pick to Cleveland in the 2nd round, and a 3rd round pick to us in the 3rd round. The Lions, and then they get Caleb Rainsaw, cornerback from Tulsa. Then Wyatt Mullen, offensive guard from West Virginia. So again, what I like here is that they're addressing that they need a starter on that offensive line with Wyatt Mullins from West Virginia. So that's a good addition. Then they draft later on, and at the 4th round pick they got Tuan Bashilov. I don't know if a running back from Virginia Tech, again a weapon for Trevor Lawrence. Then they go back to the linebacker position, which again they go for Jack Kaiser, linebacker from Notre Dame. Now, is he the best linebacker in this class? Again, I probably think like Schlesinger. Schlesinger's probably, again, Schlesinger and Jalen Walker are probably the 2 best in my opinion. But Jack Kaiser, again, it's always about getting the best player. Like I keep saying, it's about getting bodies and getting things that you need in those positions. And then the last couple of picks, they got Jalen McLean, and so they drafted 2 linebackers here from Auburn. Then Lavon Lane III, safety from Navy. Then Jonah Mayhem is a center from UCSC. And then the last pick was LaQuinn Allen, running back from Syracuse. So again, not a bad draft for the Tennessee Titans. Oh yeah, right. I didn't give a draft grade for them. I'll say a 9 out of 10, especially because 9 out of 10 because again they got themselves a quarterback, they got themselves some position. But for Jacksonville, I'll give them a 7 out of 10 maybe. I think it was a decent draft. Again, Travis Hunter, great addition. Great that they got Travis Hunter. Great that they addressed the areas that they needed to address, like linebacker, offensive tackle, on the offensive line as well. So good stuff for Jacksonville. Then switching on to Indiana. So going into the Indianapolis Colts here, going into the draft this year for the Colts, they had to address, especially a tight end. They was looking for a tight end in this draft, a linebacker, edge, inside linebacker, offensive tackle, defensive line, cornerback. So the first pick they got in the first round, 14th overall, was Tyler Warren, and I was really impressed with this pick. I think again, before this, a few picks before this, the Bears, they were at 10, and they went for Colston Loveland, which again I wasn't a big fan of. I've scouted Tyler Warren. I'm not going to go too much deep into this, but I'm a big fan of him. If you go back and watch my scout report on Tyler Warren, then you'll hear how much of a fan I am of him, and how impressed I was on his tape. So that is a good addition for Anthony Richardson, or whoever plays at quarterback. Because again, after Richardson last year, when he said he was, But again, it's a good way for Anthony Richardson next year. Then you got TJ Tabaloa, defensive end from Ohio State. So again, what I like here is that they're addressing their a weapon for anti-rush and then to focus on that defense side of the ball as well, because that's one thing that needs to address. And then another defensive in the third round, they got Justin Wally, cornerback from Minnesota. They traded away a 4th round pick to the Rams. Then in the 5th round, they got Jalen Travis, offensive tackle from Iowa, again for more protection, another starter on the offensive line. And then what I liked here is that they go for a running back in DJ Giddens, running back from Kansas City State. And then you go for Riley Leonard, which again, I think again Riley Leonard, quarterback. I have scouted him on my channel from Notre Dame. I think it'd be a decent backup, especially if Anthony Richardson gets injured, or if he says, "Oh, this play I was really worn out with this play," whatever. It's like, you can have Riley Leonard in there. He can probably do a job. You know what I mean? So he'd be a good backup, Riley Leonard. I think that's a good addition. Then the last draft pick they had in the 7th round in the 6th round was Tim Smith, defensive tackle from Alabama, and that was a trade from the Rams. So for the Colts, I mean, they address some additions that they need. 6.5 out of 10. Good draft. Then we're looking at then we're looking at the last team here, which is last team in the AFC South, which is the Houston Texans. And look at the Texans. Really, what let the Texans down last year was the defense side of the ball, which is, again, the defense side of the ball. There was a game against we faced the Texans last year, and they was dominating the first quarter of the game, the first half of the game, and then second half their defense just crumbled away, and then we ended up winning the game thanks to Ben Johnson, his constant, pressing and going at the defense, and that was really one of the problems why they didn't go further in the playoffs last season, because of the defense. And you had CJ Stroud. He had a good year in 2023. 2024, he had a couple of turnovers, but he still had a good productive year in 2024. But they needed to get especially some more weapons around CJ Stroud, with Stephon Diggs departing the Texans. So you had to get some additions going in here. So the first pick that they had was they traded away to the Giants, because the Giants drafted Jackson Dart, so the Texans traded away the 1st round pick. 2nd round pick was Jaden Higgins, wide receiver from Iowa. He was a pretty good promising prospect. I think he's going to be probably wide receiver 1. He's going to be definitely a starter in my opinion. And then a draft pick that I like was Amante Aries, offensive tackle from Minnesota. I think it's a good offensive tackle that will beef up that offensive line and really give some protection for CJ Stroud. So that's a good addition. Then the last couple picks here that the Texans had, they traded another 3rd round pick to the Bills. Then they traded a pick to the Raiders, and then they drafted Jalen Noel, wide receiver from Iowa. So they got two wide receivers from Jalen Higgs or Jalen Noel probably going to be going to be starters, but. And then they traded a 6th round pick to Jacksonville, and then a couple picks to and then they traded picks to like Jacksonville and Denver, Pittsburgh, and a couple picks. They drafted quarterback Graham Mertz, quarterback from Florida. He's 25. He's probably not going to get a game, but again, if CJ Stroud gets injured, then he can come in as a cover for backup. So it's not a bad draft pick. But again, he's going to be 25 in December, so there's not much upside in really having him. But as a backup or a third QB, it's not a bad draft pick. Then the last 2 draft picks were Keon Hamilton, defensive tackle from Rutgers. Kamal Hamilton, defensive tackle from Rutgers, and then the last pick was Luke Lecce, tight end from Iowa, and his dad, Jim Lecce, was a former Super Bowl winner with the Redskins in 1991. So again, his son is in the NFL now. Luke Lecce, tight end, Iowa. His dad, Jim Lecce, was a former Super Bowl winner with the Commanders, Redskins, back in 1991. So yeah, I don't like when we had Joey Porter. He went to the Steelers a number of years ago. It's just, I like when family members get Deion Sanders fucking kid, Shador coming into the league. I like seeing that now. But overall for this grade, especially for the Texans, I like what they did here with they again addressed they addressed offensive side of the ball with the wide receivers and some running backs in the class. They got some more additions, especially on that defensive side of the ball, which was much needed. So overall, the AFC South, the winner, who had the best draft of the AFC South, I'm going to say the Tennessee Titans, because again, they went in there and they got the best quarterback in this draft class, Cam Ward. They addressed the positions that they needed to address, and overall, they won the draft. Out of the AFC East, I'm going to say Tennessee first, second, probably Jacksonville, and then third, Houston, fourth, Colts, I guess, something like that. But it wasn't, again, I'll leave you guys' thoughts.